to walk away with minerals. Now that I'm thinking everything else is minuscule, rid of fools who don't protect black women. No arguing, disrespecting, that's it. Please come in peace when you call in, cause our friends ain't no slouch, fair warning. The mail room, messages from him. Y'all better listen if you wanna win. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in.
And what's going on, good people? Good people. I am your girl, Coach TaShon, your favorite relationship coach, and welcome to another edition of the Mailroom Messages from Him. And this is a special edition, Messages from Him. And today I have my special guest, Xandre, the complex creative. The complex creative. I like that. And we're going to talk more about it. We're going to learn what that's all about. But before we get started, TMR is being sponsored by Swag Her magazine and Touched by Her Hair. And if you would like to become a sponsor of TMR, connect with me at ygm7671@gmail.com. Again, it's all things communication with your girl, Coach TaShon. Right here on the mailroom. And today I have with me Xandre. Did I correct say that correct?
You said it right.
I love it. Thank you. So listen, let me start off by welcoming you. Thank you so much for saying yes. You have an interesting story, a very compelling story, and I want to jump right into the scene. Listen, let me read his bio. Imagine writing a suicide letter to your mother and your supportive high school friend, and your supportive high school friend discovers it. He inspires you to then make it into one of your first songs. This was the beginning of Brooklyn, New York native Xandre's music career 15 years ago. Not too long after, Xandre was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which led to an intense battle for the next 14 years of his life, starting with losing weight rapidly, going from 160 pounds to a low of 90 pounds. Having his girlfriend at the time leave him, Xandre dealt with constant verbal abuse from his mother, mental health challenges, depression, suicidal thoughts, and relapses of unresolved childhood trauma of molestation and rejection. While sick and on mandatory bed rest, Xandre called out to a God that he noticed his family always prayed to. Jesus, if you're real, save me from this. Heal me, and I'll tell my testimony wherever I go. Whew. Within 48 hours, Xandre's life was already changing. Surgery to remove 7 inches of his small intestines catapulted him into his healing journey with God keeping his promise. But Xandre didn't. By not sharing his testimony, finding himself back in a cycle of mistrust and a new low of 80 pounds at age 28. While fighting for his life, Xandre knew exactly what needed to change. Today, Xandre is now married and healed. Ooh, healed from the chronic roller coaster of Crohn's disease. He spends his healing through age, transparency, guiding others through their mental health issues, creating conversations that renews perspective through Bible studies and transparent discussions while creating music and sharing his story. Y'all, help me welcome Xandre to
Thank
this
you.
platform.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Listen, I messed up a few times. Those who know me, I messed up with some words. I got chills
Wow.
reading
Wow.
this.
Mm.
Not even hearing all of your testimony, but just reading this.
Wow.
And for those who don't know, if you're the first time tuning in, I am faith based, meaning I'm
Mm.
a believer.
Right.
And it is because of God that TMR was birthed. So that's why I don't just bring anybody on here. And just reading this, you said, Jesus save me. So let's go. Where do you want to start? Like,
I
oh
mean, we
my
just whatever.
God.
I mean, I'll just, I guess, kind of relapse the story. So I'll just kind of read through it again. So at the age of 9, I was already molested 4 times,
Mm,
family members, and so that to me was like the first introduction to a world of abuse love, like just
yeah,
love is not meant to be the way it's supposed to be. And so fast forward age 11, I was introduced to suicide for the first time. I had a best friend named Lamar. He was like an older brother I never had.
hmm,
And so we just to kind of give a visual, we used to play wrestle, we used to play video games a lot, all that other good stuff. And so we grew up, grew old. I'm 11 years old now. He's probably at that time, I think he was maybe 17 years old. And so, different friend groups require different things. So I remember just every time he tried to come see me, I was never home. And so one day his parents came knocking on the door and they were trying to check to see if we were home or still living at that same address because he had moved out the building that I was in. And so at that point, his parents came to tell us that LeVar killed himself. And so I was like, wow, I didn't even know that was an option. Like, where do we go from here? And so my parents
yeah,
still didn't know what to say. They didn't
yeah,
tell me how to deal with that. So fast forward, age 12 comes. Um, I now get reintroduced to suicide through my mother. So like my dad, pretty much, I think they had like a fallout argument. I don't know what the background story was from that to this day, but so I remember waking up 4 a.m. and I saw my dad literally just take his luggage and he left. And I was like, "Where are you going?" And he was like nonchalant, not giving me no really answers. And just tell
yeah,
by his face that he was so upset. And so I'm like, "Man, what's going on, man?" And so I was like, "All right, whatever." So I left it alone because I'm thinking maybe he went like to my uncle's house or something. He'll come back. Um,
yeah,
hear from this dude for about maybe 9, 12 months. And so at that point, waking up every day was a hassle because every morning before school, before 6 a.m., getting ready for school, I would have to talk my mom out of not killing herself. Like she would be sitting on the toilet crying her heart out from from him leaving, from him ghosting like that, and not having any answers. And I just trying to like struggle with her, fighting her to not take certain pills or
yeah,
on top of her medicine. And and trigger warning for anybody listening to this conversation, but I remember one night, and I don't really share this often, but I feel like God's telling me to actually share everything. Um,
yeah,
and so yeah, there was one night. I think it was one night. It was very late, probably midnight. I heard someone walking on a roof. I'm on a fourth floor building, and it's like nobody should be walking on the roof that late at night. And
yeah,
so I'm walking on the roof. I go in, check on my mom, and she's not there. So I'm like, oh no, nah, please don't tell me. I think what I'm hearing, I think what it is. And so at that point, I go up there, and it's my mom, and I have to talk her out to not. And so those are things that a 12-year-old should not have to be going through.
yeah,
Um, and so fast forward, age 13, 14 comes. I'm seeing everything I went through, had nobody to talk to, and I'm like, man, I gotta I don't know how to deal with all these emotions. I don't know what to do with them. And life is stressful for me because I got things that I wanted to do and I couldn't do, stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? I think suicide is the way to go. I think that's the answer to all this stress. Because my parents can't figure it out. They don't know how to talk to me about it. I don't have nobody to talk to. So I'm like, what's the point? And so I started contemplating suicide. I just started writing out my feelings. And this after school program that I was in, they were just kind of like, hey, write out everything you feel and we'll share it at the end. Me, I wrote it out, not expecting to share nothing, but my friend
yeah,
was there. And so I wrote it out and then my friend was reading it. He's like, yo, bro, this is fire. Like, you ever thought of like rapping? Because it has like a pattern to it. And I'm like,
yeah,
and I felt like somebody finally heard me, saw me, see me, based on everything I expressed. So I was
hmm,
like, you know what? I'm about to be the best rapper ever. Let's go. So I'm like,
yeah,
start this rap journey. And so from that point on, yeah, I was on a mission to try to become a rapper, but that fell really fast because my mom was not with that, of course, with everything that was going on. And I didn't
yeah,
really have the backbone and support system that I needed financially. And so that was a retired career real fast, but I still kept it with me because I felt like, you know what, maybe this could be an outlet for me. And
yeah,
so from him seeing me that day, was just God. And so now, fast forward one more year, 15 years old, I get diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And
Mhm.
so, for those that don't know what Crohn's disease is, it's a gastrointestinal disease. Um, they're still trying to figure out how it happens, but
Yeah.
honestly, I figured it out through God and everything. I was planning a little bit more of that later, but just to get through the story. So at the time, I was about 160 pounds, and then over a period of time, from 15 to 17, from 17 to 18 to age 23, I'm now seeing life at 90 pounds, skull and
Wow.
bones, barely could walk, mandatory bed rest. Um, and prior to that, I had surgery to remove 7 inches of my small intestines. And so
Mhm.
that's where most of like the disease track was, which caused me to lose so much weight. And
Okay.
so, yeah, I remember, that before the whole relapse of surgery, I remember that night literally, I was telling my mom, like, my back hurts. I feel like I got a hole in my back and it's like leaking, like blood is falling out, like I'm internally
Mhm.
bleeding. She was like, what? Like, she was like, no, you're just being, you're exaggerating. We're gonna figure it out. And I'm like, mom, we need to go. Like, I call an ambulance. And so she
Yeah.
called the ambulance and it was a whole mess. But we tried to get there on time. Ambulance wasn't taking me that serious. They were stopping at
Yeah.
the red lights. It was a mess. And I'm like, this is
Oh,
crazy. And so I'm like, all right, you know what? I started praying. I'm like, God, do something, man. I don't know. Like, I don't want to die. That's all I know. And so I remember
right.
going in there, they gave me something to stop the pain. And then after that, fell asleep. Then I remember just kind of opening up my eyes a little bit, seeing the flashes of the like the surgery lights, the room going in there, laying down, everything, and they put me to sleep, and then I woke up, saw 3 doctors standing in front of me. They were like, "Man, how you feel?" I said, "Man, I feel great. It's the first time in years I haven't felt no pain." And they're like, "We're really glad to hear that." They're like, "Man, if you didn't come in at the time that you did, we would not be
Mhm.
having a conversation right now." And so
Wow.
I just remember just having a flashback, and I remember just laying in bed when 90 pounds at age 23, abandoned, friends left me, not hanging out with me no more because of the way I look. I remember just walking down the street just normally thinking like I don't have to look at myself so much or feel insecure because people are just people, and I'm walking. I
Yeah.
remember the girls just were like, "Mommy, he looks scary." And that did something to me at that time. I'm like, wow, do I
Yeah.
really look scary? Like it's like a cognitive dissonance. You don't really see yourself until somebody tells you about yourself sometimes.
Right.
I was like, dang, my condition is really bad. And all that happened. And I remember just literally being on the bunk bed that I shared with my sister, just laying there. And I'm just like, God, like, this is not the life I don't want to be at age 23. Like, I had different plans for myself. And so,
Right.
man, God, if you really exist, the God that my grandma was always praying to, if you really exist, show me something. Like, if you heal me from this, I promise you, wherever I go, I'll share my testimony. And so he did that, man. It happened through that night of feeling like I had a hole in my back and had to run to the hospital to get that surgery done. And he cut a new wound and made me new again. But that was still a journey in itself because now it was the testimony part. Like God kept His promise when I
Yeah.
had to go out there and start telling my story. Like, hey, there's a
Yeah.
God. Like the woman at the well. Like, there's a God who told me everything. And so I went out there. People saw me. They saw me gaining weight. The people that abandoned
Yeah.
me, they saw me again. They're like, "Yo, you look different. You look healthy. What's going on?" Like, da da da. And I'm like, man, I don't know. It's just diet. It's just that I started the story because I still was not living what the ideal Christian life should look like. I still wasn't.
Yeah.
Still was drinking liquor, still hanging out, going to parties and stuff like that. So how do I look like as a person saying, "Yeah, it was God that healed me out"? It's
Yeah.
holier than thou thing, and it wasn't all of that. And that's not even what the Christian walk requires, right? It requires a progressing man, not a perfect
Mhm.
man. And so my ideology was all twisted up based on just life and how I was judging people, how I was judging other Christians outside from being on the outside, right? And
Yeah.
so the only way I could have find out, okay, how do I heal from all this? How do I become that Christian man or a progressing man? I had to literally find Jesus. I had to go out and pray to God to show me and give me understanding of questions that was causing me to be sick. God
Yeah.
said in His Word that those who will read come to me, and I will give you rest. And those who have a yoke on them, my burden is light. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I have this yoke on me, how can we make this lighter? And there's a story that I remember hearing. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called The Homeless Man and the Barber. And so there was a barber, there was a homeless man, barber, and a pastor. And so the pastor went to the barber shop and he's like, Just being there, trying to get a haircut. And the barber said, "Hey man, what makes you want to be a pastor? God doesn't exist." And he's like, "What? God doesn't exist? What makes you say that?" And he's like, "Well, why does bad things happen to good people if God exists?" And so the barber didn't answer. He got his haircut, and then he stepped outside, went about his business. And as he was walking, he saw a homeless man with all this, just look homeless,
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
hair, looking crazy and everything. So he takes the homeless man back. He's like, "Yo, follow me real quick." Goes back to the barber shop, and he walks into the barber. He's like, "Yo, barbers don't exist." And he's like, "What do you mean barbers don't exist?" He's like, "Well, I was walking outside and I came across this homeless man, and look at his hair, like, you know what I'm saying?" And he's like, "Well, the reason why he looks the way he does is because he never came to me." And it's the same concept.
Mm.
It's the same concept. The reason why forgiveness was
Wow.
so hard is because I never went to God. The reason why
Mhm.
I was still sick and couldn't figure out Crohn's disease and knowing that it's traumatized to food and all this other stuff is because
Mhm.
I didn't go to God. And so it's like if you really are seeking, the Bible is real, man. It tells you seek, knock, ask. Like, and so that was pretty much my whole journey. And now it leads to this book that we're about to talk
Yeah.
about soon, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of this whole crazy past 15 years of my life.
Wow. I'm always at eye when I hear testimonies, especially coming from Black men, and the birth this platform was birthed for Black men to share their testimonies and just hear you all's perspective. But it's so good to hear you as a man, as a Christian man, and as a Black man to talk about your journey. Number one, because as Christians, people do, say, "Well, how do you know God is real?" And what makes God so real? And then they expect when you give them that answer, and they expect your life to be this magical, whimsical type
Right,
of fairy tale, and it's not. And the first thing that comes out their mouth, "Well, what about your God? Can't He do this, that, and the other?" And so hearing you, even though you said that in the beginning, you're still trying to figure out, okay, God is healing me, but I'm still out here doing the worldly things.
right.
Wait a minute, Jesus, what's going on? Like, but people forget, like you said, the Bible is real. But
Mhm.
God used Peter and all of them, they
Right.
were stone cold killers.
Yeah.
you know,
Never prepared. Yeah.
and he used them for the greater good.
Right.
And so, with your testimony, not only are you going to reach people, but you're going to reach that young brother who's going through the same path and is trying to figure out. It's like, no, God has used you. When I tell you this, your testimony again, I got chills. I'm ready to shout, like because God is so good. God is so good. And I remember talking to you when I came across your page
Right.
through a mutual friend that introduced us. And I was listening to one of your original testimonies, and I was like, yo, that's powerful. I don't know how do you realize how powerful your testimony is when you started sharing?
I mean, I do, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like one of those things where you're still in the battle,
Yeah,
war's not over. So it's kind of like you don't want to be so caught up in it. You just want to let God do what He's doing and just
yeah,
be. It's kind of like the main character breaking the fourth wall. Like you don't want to look at the screen. You just kind of want to be the character. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When you were going through this, when you found out about the Crohn's disease, I have one friend who's dealing with it, but never understood the disease and so forth. Did you start doing the researching, or did you accept what the doctors had told you, or did you go into this, I'm going to heal myself, or how was that, like that first diagnosis?
Oh
How
yeah.
was it for
So yeah, it was all of that. I went through the whole
you?
experience. So I remember that day that I went to the doctors and all that, and they were trying to figure out what it was because Crohn's disease is still fairly new to a lot of people.
Yeah,
They're still doing a lot of research, and at that time it was fresh new. Like people were still trying to figure out like this is not something that usually happens in the black community. It's usually in the
yeah,
Jewish community, and so they're like, "How did this black man get this? We're not understanding." So after tests, I remember my mom handed me like this like a after school pamphlet, like a packet of homework, like to take home. And she was like, "Hey, so went to the doctors, you got Crohn's disease." And the way she sent it, handed me the paper, And the thing, it was very like the same way I just told you. Like I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, not that big of a deal. Maybe it's just something light. And then she followed up with the words like, "You're gonna have this for the rest of your life." And so I was like, wow, what a way to tell me that. It's
Yeah.
kind of like if you ever
Yeah.
seen that Got Milk commercial, or when the doctor comes in, he's like, "You got cancer," and it's just like, what? Like, you're not gonna.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it was like that, and I'm like, dang, man, like so. And I remember just, man, I was just like, okay, and now I had to read the papers. I couldn't understand it. I'm going through a whole different mix of emotions, and the words that stuck with me was what the doctors told me and what my mom told me. She
Mm.
echoed that. She could have had the moment to cancel that and said, "In Jesus' name, no, that's not." They said that, but this is not what it is for you. And so, because she told me that, I believed it. I was like, all right, yeah, this is something I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. And so, for a good couple years, I just did whatever they was trying to tell me. My mom even tried to find natural doctors to help me at the time. She was investing a lot of money into that. Um,
Yeah.
for some reason, it wasn't working because of my internal beliefs. No matter what they gave me, if I believe it, it's not going to work. And that's why faith really is so important on the journey of healing. And so, yeah, I went through all those emotions, man. The belief of that I'm gonna have this forever, to I'm gonna figure this out by myself. God, you taking too long. I'm gonna forget
Mhm.
this. I'm on my own. I'm gonna do this on my own. And coming back, God, I'm sorry. Like, forgive me. I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So I went through that whole roller coaster. And so where I'm at now today with it, yeah, I'm understanding it's not just food. It's not
Yeah.
just a healthy lifestyle requirement. It's also trauma. It's also tied in unforgiveness. There's a spiritual aspect to it because it's a whole science, man. Like the gut brain connection, and so whatever you believe up here is definitely gonna translate down here. And so I see it like, how the Bible says, whatever is in heaven is as it is on earth. And I think that resonates even within our body, in our microbiome, and our health. And so, and even looking at the trees, right? God said He's the tree of life. We look at trees, they grow in directions two ways at the same time. And so it's the same within our body. And when we look at ourselves, we see ourselves like roots, like the nerves look like roots. So it's like we're growing up and down at the same time. And so, yeah, it's all a mindset thing at the end of the day. If you believe you'll be healed, or you believe the word of God, you will absolutely happen. There has to be a boot camp process in the healing
Mhm.
perspective and the healing of the mind, because even with, being freshly married, and I was trying to heal during that time as well. Because I didn't heal from the way I left home,
Mhm.
leaving my mom behind. It was a radical way of moving out here to Canada to marry my wife. Uh, I miss my mom's home food, Haitian cooking. And so,
Mhm.
I'm over here trying to train my wife, talk about, get on a Zoom call with my mom, get cook like her, do this like
Yeah.
that. And I'm not realizing there's a grievance in that, like, a man leaving his mom's home and the cooking,
Mhm.
and how that cooking was tied to disease. Because even when I was still sick, my mom was still feeding me inflammatory food, but I'm over here thinking like, oh no, babe, cook this for me. This is what I gotta eat, because I remember when I was sick,
Mhm.
this is what was healing me. And it's like, no, that wasn't it at all.
Right.
It's so complex. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So that's where the complex creative comes from. Yeah, because your story
I,
is so complex.
yeah, my
You
life is complex. I'm just,
yeah.
all over the
It,
place.
be- it, I'm so glad that you're talking about the food and how all of it. When we speak, I'm a firm believer of words have power.
Yes.
And I tell people all the time, if you say that you're sick, guess what? You're
Hmm.
gonna keep being sick. If you, especially as a believer, if you know His word says you are healed, and you do. He uses doctors and holistic remedies to give to us, but we still have to use that. I always tell people, don't get off of medication. Make sure you check with your doctor, but you got to speak those words. I remember a doctor telling me a long time ago, "Oh well, you're not going to ever do this," and I looked at that doctor and I said, "Oh, okay, thank you. I know what Jesus
Right.
said."
Right.
Boom, and that was it. I know scientifically he had to tell me that, but I also know what my God told me. And
Right.
then when you manifest that, when you speak it every day, and when you're speaking and speaking and speaking it, it's going to happen. You will be healed. And I like that you said that I am healed. That
Amen.
means you're not giving this disease any more room for your life, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
So going back to when you said your mother was cooking this food, and I'm pretty sure she was cooking it thinking that it was through love and so forth, like most of our family members do. They don't know, especially if they're not educated on what's
Right.
happening. So she's feeding you this food, but you also said that it was constant verbal abuse from your mother.
Hmm.
How was that? Was so you're believing in God? Was she a believer as well?
Oh yeah, that's see,
Mm,
yeah. I mean, I can't say it's just Christian faith. I'm sure there's that in the Muslim faith and all the other stuff, but
yeah,
it'd be us, man.
yeah,
We be the ones, like we're the ones, the Bible thumpers, but we're also the ones that's breaking out each other, right?
yeah,
Behind closed doors, and so yeah, just kind of get perspective on a verbal abuse situation. I remember being sick, and I guess uh, just I'm gonna be honorable with my mother. I love my mom.
yeah,
I'm not, saying that
yeah.
ain't crazy, but like facts are facts, truth is truth, experiences are
Hmm.
experiences. So the experience I had was, I remember just kind of like hearing her always say like, "Oh, in Haitian Creole, um, I don't like you, or I hate you, or I wish you were never born." Um,
Mm,
and there's some backstory. I'll give you a little bit of
yeah,
that. Um, because I'm not perfect, right? So like, there's things that
right.
I do that provoke that response. It's not just hate
Hmm.
this and this innocent person. And so yeah, so those were some of those things that she spoke over me as being somebody that was in her womb for 9 months. Like, she was literally my home for like 9 months of my life.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you speak those things, those words have power, especially over your seed. And so
Hmm.
she was saying those things to me, and I think that is a little bit tied to the root of the disease as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, during the house, when I was living with her at the time, still even dealing with a disease, trying to figure out how to survive this toxic environment, she would say those things. She was also preparing for my funeral when I was preparing for testimony. So there was a time,
Mm,
story that I didn't mention, uh,
yeah.
where, because I'm so sick, being around sick people all day, you gotta get out. You gotta, what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
can't be in the house with them all day. So my mom, my sister, my dad pretty much went out, and I was kind of home alone. And so I remember not having much energy. Like, literally, it was hard for me to stand up past 5 seconds. And so I
Mm,
calling myself to the kitchen to try to get something to eat, try to get something to drink. And I came across an envelope that was on the floor, and it had life insurance with my name on it. And I didn't know they had life insurance plan. They didn't talk to me about it. Um,
yeah.
you and so I was like, wow, like, I'm over here preparing to survive, and you got life insurance, which is still a good thing now that I know, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. When you think about it now, after you learned it, yeah.
right, yeah, now, but at the time of it, it was
Yeah.
like that's crazy. And so, yeah, like that, just some of the verbal abuse aspects of that. And now, one of the reasons why I think the verbal abuse started, there was one time I was being bullied, I think maybe 10, 11 years old, around the time like Lamar died. Um, I was dealing with all of that and still went to school with being bullied and stuff like that. And my
Yeah.
mom, thinking to come home and have some relief, some love, some affection, my mom was being also another bully waiting for me, the verbal
Mhm.
abuse, when I got home. And so I don't remember too much of what happened, but I remember she backed me into a corner in the kitchen, and I blacked out. And
Mm,
when I remember everything, when I came back to my senses, she was holding her face. And so that tells me that I slapped her. And so
mhm.
I was like, whoa, what the hell did I
Yeah.
do? Because, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is something you don't do. And I don't remember what she said, but my dad always told me whatever she said after, it could be one of the reasons why you are tied to this disease, because she spoke something
Mhm.
over you. And so I was like, oh man. So she repented for everything she said. She rebuked it and
Yeah.
everything. We on that whole healing journey is different now. But
Yeah.
at the time, I think, cause effect, right? There's a reason why something happens, and it leads to something else. And so,
Mhm. I like that. I like that you said that you're on the healing journey now with her, with your mom, right?
oh
Because
no, it by myself, but yeah,
okay.
there's still stuff there that needs to be healed for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I always I like to tell people, our parents, they I had to come to a journey in my life where I had to forgive my parents. They were cool, good parents, but also realized that they had things that they were dealing with, and when they have families, they don't know. what to do and what not. But you do, something you spoke about earlier is that forgiveness part. And I am, a stickler on forgiveness. I don't care what the world says. I have to do what God says. And forgiveness is that central piece. And I think people forget our parents are human beings,
Right.
and they had a lot of stuff that they hadn't dealt with. But I like the fact that you said the healing journey. You're on the healing journey, and so is she, and so forth. That's very crucial, especially when you're speaking to other Black men and young boys, because that unforgiveness, when we hold that in, that causes sickness.
Oh yeah.
That causes a lot of health issues that we really don't think about. I remember going on my healing journey, and I remember forgiving people that had wronged me and vice versa that I had wronged. And immediately I know I was healed from a sickness just by letting go, you know.
Right.
So I when it comes to that forgiveness, I don't care what people say. I can't forget. Well, you can't, but I can, and I'm gonna deal with it. It's not an easy journey, but you gotta some way you have to let it go. Wow. I listen. I'm just trying to the so you were dealing with the verbal abuse from your mom,
Mhm.
and the mental health challenges, the depression, suicidal thoughts,
Yeah.
the relapses of unresolved childhood trauma of molestation and rejection. How? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it was tough. It was very tough. I think God gave me a strategy as I continued to seek Him, and made Him my hiding place, made Him in my safe place.
Mm,
I learned how to be transparent, and now I've gone on a journey of teaching nations how to be transparent so that they can heal, which is the art of letting go. Really, when you think about it, um,
yes.
it God gave me a thing that I'm about to develop through a community that me and my wife host. It's called Healing Through Transparency. And so
Mm,
one of the courses that's going to be coming out soon is called Drain Your Triggers. And so a lot of the factors of trauma, what happens, I hear a quote that always says, you stop growing at the age the trauma happened. And so we have a lot of 80-year-olds who's still 16 years old. We have people like my mom who's 50-ish, and they're still dealing
mhm,
with 13, 9-year-old wounds or whatever. And so it
mhm,
does stop the mind and the ability to spiritually grow. And so, like the Bible tells us to, to there's things of meat and milk, right? When it comes
mhm.
to how much of what you can handle within the word. And so some people always stay at milk because of trauma. And that's how the devil gets you. But we have to grow and not be malnourished and malnutrition in the spirit, right? And so that our bodies don't even show up that way. And so um, yeah, so for me, it was a drain your triggers. And so drain is an acronym, it's DRAIN. And drain means disrupt repetitively
Mm,
anything or anyone increasing negativity. Disrupt repetitively anyone or anything increasing negativity. And so what does that look like? So disrupt you. Let's say, for example, something happens between me and my mom. She says something crazy, or just she's making a lot of noise with the dishes or just cussing up a storm in the house, making
yeah.
a toxic environment. I now disrupt that trigger. Now it's triggering me. So I'm going to disrupt it with something like music, playing video games,
Mm,
putting on the word of God, putting on gospel music, shifting the
yeah.
atmosphere around me, and now repetitively do that as much as I need to. So even if it's not just one thing, I'm doing two things at once. I got gospel music playing and I'm playing video games, or gospel
Yeah.
music out loud in the background and I'm watching TV, or I'm trying to find two things to disrupt
Yeah.
the thing that's happening. And anyone doesn't matter who it is, you got to protect your peace, right? Anyone or anything, whatever that situation may be, just prevent it. Create that spiritual boundary, that environmental boundary where it's not coming inside. You got to block off your receptors, your eyes, your ears, your nose, whatever, however it's coming in, and increasing. So just continue to increase that level of it. Make it as loud as possible, because what happens, like for example, that situation that I just kind of gave an example of, my mom
Mhm.
cursing, slashing dishes, smashing dishes in the sink, and all that other stuff is getting to me. um, that was real for me, and so I
Yeah.
had to do that activity. And so when I put on the gospel music, the word of God is hitting her heart, and she'll start to change. Like the dishes start to be a little lighter. She'll start to
Yeah,
more in the room and be a lot more peaceful. She's not cursing anymore. She feels convicted, and it's not intentional. It's just that's just how God moves, right?
right.
And so the negativity, that end part is gone. Now you no longer have to deal with it, and you just continue to repeat that process over and over again, and eventually your toxic environment becomes a garden because of you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I love that you said that. People do not believe that, right? They do not believe you can flesh out demons.
Yeah.
I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yep.
You can flush out demons with the music, which we gonna come because you're a musician, artist with the music alone. You don't even have to say anything. You turn up that gospel, a good gospel song, put on an old gospel song, and watch it calm down. You
Yep.
know, I have witnessed that myself. Every time, sometimes I'm like, oh, not today, Satan, and I'll turn up some good clapping music, and I'm behind, and I'm shouting and jumping and I don't even have to say anything to the person or to the situation. But
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, like you said, you look up, you're like, oh, okay, all
Yep.
right, okay, Jesus, I got you. You know, that's the power that he gives you.
Yep.
And that's the power he gave you. And the wisdom, that's wisdom. Because
Yep.
you could have did the opposite. You could have been fighting and
Yeah.
tussling with that spirit.
And there's times that it's happened, so I had to go through that to get to there. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah. That's that wisdom people don't understand. You grow because I'm like you. At one time, I'm battling back and forth verbally, this, that, and the other. But as you grow in the spirit and you learn, you like. And he says that the battle is not yours; it's mine. So
exactly.
you have to try that.
Yep.
Wow, I love that. For those who are just joining us, listen, I have Xandre, the complex creative, and he is sharing his testimony. I do want to say that if this is a trigger for you, then you're not obligated to watch it. But I do encourage you to listen through it because again, there is healing in the power of Jesus. There is healing in the power of words. And this young man, I mean, if y'all been listening, I have chills, and I still have chills just from, and we hadn't even got. I don't, is this the surface? This we hadn't even gotten all the way in.
Yeah, I
Like
haven't even got to what God. I mean, the letting go part. So yeah.
this is so powerful. Like just the mere fact that you spoke it and you continued this journey because you could have given up a long time. Why didn't you give up? Why didn't you give up?
So I didn't give up because one, I love life. I love living, and
Mm,
and I also have all these big dreams and visions that God has given me since
mm-hmm.
as a kid, and I'm like, I need to see it. Like, I need to experience it. Like, there's no way I can see all these things that
Yeah,
God showed me through visions, through dreams, and the prophecies that God has sent people to tell me,
yeah,
and I have not been able to experience that. Like, and also to see that my family has been going through this generational cycle. Like, I'm seeing as I grow that there's so much people who had the opportunity to do what I'm doing and nobody has done it. And
yeah,
for whatever their reasons may be, you know what I'm saying? No judgment there. But if I have to be that person from this family, oh, we
yeah.
could do that because it's not going down to my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's
Ooh, yes.
and so yeah, and then one more reason, I remember when I was on the bed, what I would call my deathbed, because I felt like I was literally about to die. Like my eyes just
Mm,
darker. Even like I'm talking to you right now, my eyes are open, light,
mm-hmm.
light. But for me, it was like this, but it just kept getting darker and darker. And it's not like the shade or the sun was going down. I'm like, what
Yeah.
is happening? Like, so I remember just being like, God, if you're real, heal me from this disease, and I promise you, I'll go out there and share my testimony. And
Mm,
He gave me another chance. He was like, all right, bet I'm gonna take you on that offer. And and so I have to keep my word. He kept it.
mm,
I'm still living in his word. He said, you are healed. And so now I have to say that to myself and live that as well. And so, yeah, so my why is that I gotta keep my out of the promise because I want to hear well done at the end of this. I ain't trying to hear, there's still a couple things you left behind.
right.
So, and Yeah, man, it's just for the love of people, for the love of nations. I don't want another man to go through. I can't stop that. I can't prevent what men go through, but I do
Right.
know I want to provide, or if they do end up going through what I went through, at
Mm.
least have some resources of healing. There's some words that they probably didn't know that they could express that I was able to express in the book, and just even through this conversation, it might
Yeah.
be one, it might be another video, however they come across it through music, but
Yeah. Yeah. And he trusted you. He knew that you would honor that vow, that word. And that he brought you through because he said, this young man, he's serious about this thing. And I can trust him with this journey. Because he can't trust all of us now. Let's keep it 100. We love to say, "Oh Jesus, I won't do it again," and then we go right back out there and do something again. you know. But saw the sincerity in your heart. He knew your heart and you're doing it. And I love that. I love that because even though, like you said, whoever listens, you may not be able to say, and I tell people, we can't save the whole world. I would love to, as a former educator, went into education to save the world, but that's not reality. If when you can touch one person, that's
right,
saving the world. And
yeah,
your testimony is touching people, touching men, and
yeah,
it's so many dynamics to this. It's just so much like I don't know, and I know I keep saying I get chills, but you just understand I got chills because it's good to hear God's people talk candidly about the miracles because we look at the Bible and be like, oh, those are Bible days, but people don't understand we're in biblical days. The
right,
Bible is real. you know, it's
right,
just that we were not born back then. We're facing the same things. We're just experiencing now, and so people have this idea like, oh, Jesus, that was just stories. No, he healed people.
right,
I was the woman at the well. I've seen him heal me. I've seen him heal my family members through my journey, through the prayers, and the same thing he's doing with you. Wow. So let's fast forward into you. It says you're married from the
yeah.
woman that left you, right?
Oh no, absolutely not. Not the woman that left me. The
Okay.
married to a woman God sent me. Uh,
Mm, I like that. To the woman that God sent you.
yes,
That
yeah,
makes a big difference. That
yeah.
makes a big difference. Y'all hear that, couples? Y'all hear that? God sends you, right? God sends them. So let's talk about that. You are now married and healed from
Mhm.
the chronic roller coaster. You are what? Healed.
Healed.
You ain't, well, it depends on the day. You are healed.
Amen. Yep.
Tell us about that because I know people be like, well, you're gonna always have it. Well, it's incurable, or the what? You said it right here. You are healed.
Yeah.
How does
I,
that conversation work with people? Because I know they some of them will doubt it.
oh no, for sure. I mean, and I could understand both. I can understand that position of why they would be doubt. Because even as I'm not gonna lie to you, even as a Christian being healed, I still have doubts. Sometimes it pops up.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
still a mental battle. There's still sometimes the symptoms pops up again, and you're like, "Oh my God, is it back?" Like
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you're not healed. It's a symptom, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like a storm that comes. Like just because it's raining today doesn't mean it's gonna rain forever. It doesn't mean that it's not gonna
Right.
out. And so there's reasons why, like it's been 14 years of unstable diets, unstable trauma. The body has never been at peace. And so it's like, okay, you have this 1 or 2, 3 years of peace, and then you expect it to never have any type of triggers. Like an earthquake just happened not too long ago, and that's
Yeah.
from whatever happened in the world. And so
Yeah.
it's like sometimes we have little earthquakes that come back into our life, and it's not to panic. It's just sometimes God test you to see like how you are you gonna fall.
Mhm.
Like, what's your foundation?
Mhm.
It comes to test your foundation, right? And so,
Yeah.
I'm healed. I believe that completely. I have receptors. I have signs of that. However, I do see little symptoms, little storms that still come along the way,
Yeah.
and even with the weight loss right now, that could be another sign for me. And so all that does is bring me right back to the God that sent me to on this journey. I'm like, all right, God, well, here I am again. I know you said I'm healed, so it's looking like this. Why does it look like this? And he's gonna tell me, oh, it's because of XYZ. Maybe you got more forgiving to do. Maybe you got this book to
Mhm.
release, and maybe there's so many different things, and that's just the thing about letting go because there's so much inside of us, and
Yeah,
that's why we feel so heavy. Like when
yeah,
we be walking around feeling so heavy with moods, we feeling heavy with weight or whatever it could be tied to, but it's tied to a certain trauma that's internally with you, and you have to let it go because God. I don't know if you've ever seen that visual of like dirty water being poured, and then there's a constant flow of healing,
yeah,
or it's pouring out the dirt, and it takes time. And that's
yeah.
what it looks like on a physical human body. Like it looks like releasing books, going back to God, and however he sees fit for your life, because not
Mhm.
everybody's to be an author, not everybody's meant to be on a platform. Trust me, you don't want it. like,
Right, right,
it's not what it looks like. It requires,
right.
but however, if that is the calling, be obedient. Is a
Mhm.
reason why, there's people, there's nations attached to our words and are literally waiting for our healing. Or like, it's a win-win. There's no losing in that. So,
Oh my God. Like good God. You hit it right. The healing and the mere fact that you have to continue this journey. You said something like everybody thinks they want this platform or whatnot. Everybody who knows me, where are y'all? If it was left up to me, my life would be I'm a quiet person, right? And
mhm.
when God called me to do things, I'm like, Jesus, for real, you want me to do what? And who? I just want to go in and try to bake some cookies and be a regular housewife and, do all these other things. Because again, your life is not your own. And so you have to and I thank God that He called me, but it does put you on that watch alert. Like, wait a minute, Jesus, you said I was healed. So what, like you said, what does that look like? I got to get more into my script. Like God just revealed to me the other day, and even last night, He was like, remember, you got to get into those scriptures. And I'm like, okay. So He sends these reminders, these reminders, hey, you, you slipping. I need you to get back into these scriptures. I need you to do X, Y, and Z. So I love the fact that you stated that because as Christians, we need those reminders.
Oh yeah,
We need those reminders. The world looks so good right now. Everybody trying to do everything and try, but God is like, listen, focus on me. Speaking of, you said a book.
yes,
Congratulations.
you thank.
Let's get into that book because all of this brought you to this part with your family, with the healing. Now you have a book.
Yeah,
That's what it is. Tell
is
us about it.
yeah, man. So this is just the proof. The book is actually still on its way. But it's
Yeah.
one. If you could see, do you see the little fingerprints and stuff? It's intentional. I wanted people to touch the book. When they
Oh.
touch the book, it holds on to their fingerprints, like not for the CIA or anything like that, but like, but for yourself, say like when you touch oil, it leaves a stain, and that's literally how God's fingerprints. Like
Oh
it,
my gosh.
this is deep. This is like I really went in. So, and the light. So like when they get the book, they're gonna be like, wait, I just see O and W. Where's the asterisk? Where's the oil and water? So you won't see it. Let me see if I could even show it in real time. I don't know if it'll pop up, but so you open the book until you put a flash behind your phone, you won't see oil and water. You probably
Oh, how cool.
you won't see. See what I'm saying? So it requires
Yeah.
be able to see the hidden truths. And it's literally a reflection of everything I went through on the journey with Jesus. So I'm like, God, this is what happens when you spend time with God. Because like me, I'm
Yeah.
not this dope, I promise you. Like when you go time with God and you go back and he tells you you follow instructions, you come up with stuff like this. Because I still can't even believe that I did this. So yeah. So the art of letting go is one of the other parts of transparency is that you don't always have to talk to people, but you can talk to them through stuff like this. And when I looked at it, um, I was like, bro, this is 80 pages worth of deep poems that were inside of me that I finally let go. And so, how heavy was that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how heavy was
Yeah.
that to walk around with? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, man, we are all full of books, bro. Like, I'm not saying everybody's meant to be an author, but even if you don't share it with somebody, get it out.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's another I guess another testimony of even just from that after school program. Shout out, I don't remember the name of him, but that program that made me write that poem and felt seen, it led to this, and so to many more now. The next thing that's coming up for me is music, releasing an album called I Will Not Die. And
Mm,
I've been wearing that through a hoodie because I've been feeling like during the times that I felt like with the battle of the disease that I was going to die. And so God gave me the scriptures of Psalm 118, I will not die.
mhm,
And I recently
mm.
came across a post which almost brought me to tears at the time I came across it, was
Yeah.
that Jesus's last song. Like that's the last song they sang together before he passed away. Um,
Mhm.
Cross, obviously, but passed away. He's still here. He's still alive. But when he took off, before he took on the cross, that was the last song. The hymn that they sang was Psalms 118, I will not
Yeah.
die. And so when God gave me the concept of I will not die, before I even came across that revelation, I was like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, wow, like I'm literally, my album is titled based on the last song of Jesus, which for me, I don't feel like it'll be my last song or my last album,
Right.
but it's a new beginning. And so
Yeah.
it's just crazy to see how God is just doing all that from a book to a song, and not being able to do those things for so long. And now it's just coming out,
Yeah.
it's like it's time, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And if this is your first published work,
Yeah. Officially.
okay. I love that, and you can tell that is nothing but God.
Yeah.
Like you said, the fingerprints. I didn't even think about any. I didn't even look at that. But when you said the intentional fingerprints when they're in the light shining and whatnot, that's creative. That
Yeah.
is that complex creative.
Mhm.
Because again, what you do has to be for the glory of God. So that
Yeah.
means you can't put out junk, y'all. You can't put out junk. He Even if he tried to put out junk, God ain't gonna allow him to do it. You
Yeah.
know? And that's the beauty of knowing him for yourself. It's like he's going to push you. He's going to make sure that you represent not only him, but you and your family.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that I definitely will be ordering that. I'm
Like,
definitely. How can we find that? How can we find
yeah,
your?
it's on Amazon. You could just type Oil and Water Xandre or Terrence Xandre Alexandre. And yeah, it should pop up.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh. And you say you have music that's coming out. That's
Hmm.
coming out. When can we expect that, or is that on a hush?
That's up to God, man. I'm still
Yeah,
like, provision, right? He gave you
yeah,
vision, but I'm waiting on a provision. And so I feel like for me, I'm ready whenever, but he
yeah,
wants to take my time with it and do everything in excellence, just like this book. And
yeah.
this book took literally, oil and water. It's so oil is poems I've written after I was baptized. Water is
Okay.
poems written before I was baptized. And so
Mm,
asterisk was poems that was written as I'm working on the book, trying to put it all together. So it's like I'm like, God, when does this book ever end? Because as I'm working on it, he's still giving me more poems, and I'm like, oh my
yeah.
God. Like so, I remember having to submit the final draft and then going back,
Yeah.
re-download, and so yeah. So when God releases a song, I don't know. Hopefully soon,
Yeah.
but yeah, wish that could.
Wow. Listen, of course, I gotta have you back. I just gotta have you back, and I would love to have your wife back with you because I definitely want to talk about the journey, as a couple, as well, and so forth. But I am just so mesmerized and I'm not surprised by your testimony. And I say that because as a believer, that is what makes us stronger in our faith.
Yeah,
And this is the part where people really don't understand. God is so good. He wants the best for us.
yeah,
He wants the absolute best for us. But he never said it was going to be roses and candy and rainbows and tutus and all of this, right?
yeah.
He had to suffer, right? He had
Right.
to go through some trials and tribulations for us. And as we're coming off of Easter and Holy Week and so forth, it puts everything in perspective. Like we have an assignment. We have to do what we're supposed to do as Christians, as believers. And this is not the season for us to be ashamed of our testimonies and what we've gone through. I always tell people, listen, I went through what I went through. And if you still got the need to talk about me and still try to, that's between you and God. Because what I know what God won't allow you to do is speak ill of his people. And
Amen.
so for you as a man to, and as a Christian who's standing in your faith, because you could have came on and just kind of watered down what God did for you. You know, and I've seen it. People just water it down and they give it credit to everything else. But and I'm like, ooh, okay, really? All
Mm,
right, okay, keep on playing. But
yeah,
you're standing, and look at you. Look
man.
at you.
God be.
Wow. God be the glory. So, what is next for you? How can we connect with you? What can we do to support you on this journey? Especially as, you know what, believers, we're going to support, we're going to connect, but what can we do to support you? Like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah,
is, yeah,
just say, to be honest, prayer. You know what I'm saying? I
yeah,
can, if God is calling me to nations, I think I need a nation to pray for me. You know
hmm,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, man, it's a heavy journey. I
yeah,
think just the prayer, the walk requires a lot,
yeah,
especially with the healing process and breaking generational curses and all this other
hmm,
stuff. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like that, the beautiful stuff is beautiful when it comes out in physical, but there was
yeah,
a process. There was a dirty process to this. There was tears.
mhm,
There was experience. There was wisdom, and so yeah, so I think prayer, most importantly, for my
mhm,
health, for my mindset, for my obedience,
mhm,
not waver, to not be shaken and not to fall off, to stay
mhm.
disciplined, to definitely the
Yeah,
discipline part,
yeah,
strength and discipline, and most importantly, just follow me, just follow the journey, support where you can, however you
yeah,
can. If it's sharing the book with someone or sharing it, my story, to this video with someone, a
yeah,
little long way because I can't reach a nation without a nation. I need help. So
yeah,
yeah, I think yeah with that and everything we talk about, everything we learn, share that with someone.
yeah,
The word like is gospel because it is.
yeah,
Teach the people how to heal because I'm not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? But you're for somebody. Whoever's connected to you, that
mhm,
connected to you for you. So yeah,
yeah. That's what I tell people. I'm like, I even have my sweatshirt. I'm not for everybody, and of course, people take that wrong or however they take it as. And I'm like, I can't apologize because I'm not for everybody.
yeah.
As kingdom builders, we're not for everybody. And we have to stand firm in that.
I mean, even Jesus is not for everybody, but he died for everybody.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's
So yeah,
keep it 100. He's not. You're right. He's not. He died for all of us, but he got his few. And I want to be one of his few.
mhm.
I want to be. I want to be one of his few. I don't have time to play. I am just so honored to have you. I'm just so honored that you said yes to this platform. And again, I invite you back whenever you want to. It is open to you, because you have such a a word. This is a ministry, and people think ministries are in the pulpits and whatnot. This is your ministry.
Yeah,
You are reaching like you said, the nations, the masses, and so forth. And we need you out here. We need
yeah,
that. We need black men. We need men of faith out here. In the world that we're living in today. I don't know about you, but I'm just like, Jesus, be a fence. Uh,
yeah. But,
I know you coming back soon. I just want to make sure that I'm right with you because the stuff that's going on in the world. But guess what? It's light, and you're one of those. You're a light, for someone who's experiencing darkness in their life right now. So I thank you so much. I thank you so much,
man,
and me and the team, we send you nothing but blessings, and we're always here to support. Any final words for the audience for your
yeah,
support?
yeah. Before I even get final words, thank you so much for this opportunity. I don't take any opportunity to speak lightly. You know what I'm saying? I prayed about it. I asked God, like, hey, what do you want me to share? And I just show up. So I'm grateful that you even created this platform. Thank you for your obedience, for providing space for men to be able to
Yeah,
share their stories. And I hope, for many more,
yeah.
and so, yeah, my final words, God, what do you want me to say? My
Yeah,
final
yeah.
words, I'd say what's on my heart right now is about forgiveness. I think
Mm,
Forgiveness has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with everyone that comes after you. Um, I feel like forgiveness is a baton, a generational baton that has to be passed down so that the devil doesn't get into your life again. You know what I'm saying? When we look down at everybody before us, ancestors, however you want to see it, grandma, mom, dad, auntie, niece, everybody has a baton, and all they keep doing is passing down generational parenting, generational hurt, generational trauma, but nobody wants to run the race and
Mm.
endure the pain that's required to make it to the next person that they have to pass it off to. You know, I still have family members who are still dealing with a lot of trauma and
Yeah.
unforgiveness, and they don't know how to let it go. And so they're like, "Oh, how do I let go of something that somebody did to me?" And
Mm-hmm.
like it's not that they did something to you, it's something happened for you, and it's a perspective shift. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, how can God allow this to happen for me? I didn't ask to be molested. I didn't ask to experience.
Right.
I didn't ask to, whatever the case may be. And that's the art of letting go. That's where you have to go back to God, because if you feel so convicted and so provoked and so upset at God, why are you coming to people? Go to God about
Right.
go to God about what happened to you so that you can get an answer on how to let this go. Because all we're doing is walking around with a bunch of evidence, and we're
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm gonna be my own God. I'm gonna be my own protector.
Mm.
But you call yourself a Christian, you call yourself a believer, and
Ooh, you
yeah,
preaching now. You know people ain't gonna like what you just said.
I'm not here for the people to like. I'm here for the,
Woo.
and that's the process of healing. I don't like a lot of the things that God told me, but I'm just echoing back,
Mm-hmm.
and so you think forgiveness is fun? No, I don't want to be out here talking about forgiveness. I want to just be home, chilling with my wife, eating food,
Yes.
maybe like just living my regular life. But I'm out here talking about the dirty work because that's
Yeah.
required for us to make it to heaven, to have a deeper relationship with Christ, and that we just hear that well done and make life better for our kids. Because
Yeah.
everything we experience is like, oh man, I dealt with the trauma, I dealt with this and that from my parents, but it's like, all right, well, you have a chance to do something different. And
Yeah.
so I'll just say forgive quickly, y'all. Forgive as quick as
Mhm.
possible. Make forgiveness like breathing. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Learn how to let that thing go as soon as possible. I gave strategies through this conversation during your triggers.
Yeah.
You
Mm.
know, write a book, write a journal. You don't even have to. If you're not a good writer, record it. There's voice memos. There's literally no excuses.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Forgive. Learn how to forgive. Let go of the evidence. Give. So forgiveness. I'm gonna try to make it into a quote. Forgiveness is giving God the evidence.
Mm.
Give God
Mm.
trust that he will defend you. He got the papers. Whenever you need the receipts to come out, he'll let you know
Right.
you need to bring out the receipts. But for right now, for you to prosper so you can live a life, it's like you gotta kind of forget. That's
Yeah.
what I don't I could tell you I have this whole book, but I don't know every poem in here. But when I was writing them, oh I felt them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dave, I
Yeah.
forgot, and I'm trusting God that hey, whenever I do need to go back and bring out the receipts, he's like, oh yeah, don't remember you have a whole book of receipts. So
Mm.
like you know what I'm saying? It's not to hold it against nobody. It's just, hey, this is how God decided to show you to let it go. So let go quick, man, so you can be healed.
Wow. Yeah, you got to come back. We got to do a part two. I mean, we already did a
Yeah,
whole hour. We got to do a part two.
yeah,
Oh
wow.
my gosh, this you said a mouth. I would. You just said truth.
Yeah,
People are not going to like it, and it's okay. And you said it. We
yeah,
ain't here to be liked. The
yeah,
truth has to be told.
right.
The truth has to be told. That is what's going. Okay, I ain't gonna get to preaching. I'm gonna get to preaching because that's what's happening now. We got the watered down Christians and who want to tiptoe around everything. Oh well, if you don't want to forgive, it's okay. The word says you
That's
have to forgive.
what? That's
It's
demonic. That's crazy.
right.
Ah,
The
man.
word says you have to forgive. He didn't say it was gonna be easy.
Right.
But you have to forgive in order to move forward for what he has. And I am a witness. When I did not forgive,
Mm-hmm.
the sickness, the turmoil, the mental battle, the everything,
Yeah.
I saw things not going right for my life. But as soon as I said, I surrender, God, I don't know how to do this forgiveness thing, but
Mm-hmm.
now I'm willing. And saw I
Yeah.
saw the progress. I tell people all the time, it's not a one night. situation. It's a process. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
But you just so hard where you and you're a Christian especially, and you say you ain't gonna forgive.
I mean,
I'm
you
just
got
trying
it.
to tell
It's kind
y'all.
of like when Jesus was like, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they've done." People don't know
Exactly.
what they're saying. Trust me, I was one of those people saying the same thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
They
know
don't.
they don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
Listen, we could talk forever and ever. I listen. You definitely got to come back. I
Uh,
thank you. I thank you. Again, you have our support, and I'm excited for you. And I really am. I'm excited for. I can see another volume of Oil and Water. I
wow.
can see the music. I can see you touching people,
Wow.
especially the men across the nation. I
Wow.
can see that. So I'm sending blessings on blessings on blessings for you and your family.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank
For
you.
those who are tuned in, who have sat through this and listened, I pray to you all, for you all, that it blessed you. If it, listen, I don't know what else to say to y'all, but just listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth. This is an honorable man, and go get his book. Go get his book and listen to music. Get his book. Put it up there again. Like, get his book. I will
Yeah.
be ordering it. Get his book. You will not be disappointed. And for men that feel like there's no safe space and you can't share your testimony, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. God said that you are healed, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing. I don't care what the world says. There is nothing to be ashamed of, because God did it for him. God did it for me. God did it for everybody else that I know. He definitely will do it for you, but you got to want it and you got to believe it. So until next time, Xandre, thank you. Thank
You.
you, listeners. Make sure you connect with all of us here on the Mail Room 7671 on YouTube and all platforms. Don't be a stranger. We'll
Yeah.
see you soon. Peace.
Peace, y'all.